To all the men showing up, even when life feels heavy. To the men carrying pressure no one sees. To the men trying to provide, lead, and hold it all together. To the men who are tired, stressed, disconnected, or quietly struggling behind the scenes. This is your reminder. You are not alone. You don't need to have all the answers to wait until you hit breaking point, and you don't need to carry everything in silence. This Men's Health Week, we're opening up honest conversations about what it really means to be a man in today's world, with this one simple message. Men don't need more information, they need better spaces to talk. This series is hosted on the Upside podcast, powered by the Happiness Co Foundation and supported by Business News. The views shared by our guests are their own and may not always reflect the views of the Happiness Co Foundation. But what they do is to help create the conversations we believe more men need access to. Welcome to the Men's Health Project series.
So, welcome to the Happiness Co Foundation Leadership Conversations from the Heart as part of our Men's Health Project 2026, proudly sponsored by our social impact partner, Business News. This series has been created to explore the human side of leadership, beyond titles, beyond success, and beyond the polished version we often show the world. Through these conversations, we're creating space for honesty, vulnerability, resilience, reflection, and connection, because leadership isn't simply about influence or achievement, it's about humanity. It's about how we show up for ourselves, for our families, our workplaces, and our communities. Across the series, we'll hear from leaders, advocates, clinicians, educators, business professionals, innovators, and community voices willing to speak openly about mental health, well-being, adversity, purpose, kindness, and what it truly means to lead from the heart. Our hope is simple. These conversations help people feel less alone, more understood, and more willing to reach out, speak up, and support others before the crisis point. I'm your host, Mo Sorzia, and today I'm grateful to be joined by Hamish Tedeschi. Hamish is an experienced leader in information systems, innovation, and digital transformation, with a strong focus on using technology to create meaningful human impact. Yep, this is you, bro. Through his work and collaboration with Happiness Co, Hamish has helped explore how digital platforms and emerging technologies can support well-being, connection, and accessible mental health support for individuals and communities 24/7. What stands out most, however, is not simply the technical capability, but a genuine commitment to people, purpose-driven innovation, and using technology in ways that strengthen human connection rather than replace it. Hamish brings a thoughtful and grounded perspective on leadership. You can tell by what he's wearing. Well-being, innovation, and the opportunities and responsibilities that come with the rapid evolution of AI and digital platforms. Hamish, welcome to the conversation.
Mo, thanks for having me.
Pleased to be here, mate. Absolutely pleased to be here. So before we start the conversation, interrogation, just the conversation, let's dive into leadership, technology, innovation, and mental health. I'd love to begin simply and personally. How are you genuinely at this point in your life?
I think I am well. I do reflect on, I'm very fortunate in the sense that I have my health. I have a beautiful family. I have friends that look out for me. And at the end of the day, what more could you want? So I think, everyone has, you probably always think the glass could be fuller, but at the end of the day, there's some people that are a lot worse off, and so I'm a very fortunate individual. So yeah, I'm well.
And a totally awesome man. So thank you so much for being here and exploring this whole series and the constructs associated with this series of podcasts. So we are very fortunate to have you here. And
thanks for having me. I think it's very topical as well. So yeah, it's interesting to be involved in.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So leadership beyond titles. First question. Many people associate leadership with positions of status. But from your experience, what does authentic leadership actually look and feel like?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think authentic leadership has nothing at all to do with titles. And, when you see leadership being demonstrated, it's generally, it's not by people with the titles. It could be, but it's more about the actions. There's that phrase, actions speak louder than words. And I think that is generally something that I would agree with, because, you want to show people and demonstrate leadership. But leadership may also be not just doing stuff, but also stopping and listening and allowing other people to do stuff as well. So getting out of the way at the right time is also a form of leadership, I think.
Like that.
I
like that. Do you struggle with that, getting out of the way?
Oh, mate, totally.
Especially as the owner, founder, etc.
When you
MacRock.
When you're the founder of a business and it's literally just you. You're the one doing everything in that business, so you understand the systems intimately. And as it evolves over time, and you add more people into that mix, and you might have 20, 30, 40 people, whatever it is, you still understand those systems usually better than anyone else. And as a founder, it's your nature to just go and fix things and just do things. But that's not a great outcome for the business as a whole, because you have many single points of failure, and those single points of failure generally come back to you and your inadequacies and those types of things. So
it sort of conduits back down to you, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So, if you're building the next set of leaders, you need to be able to get out of the way. And I've been trying to do that a lot more in the last couple of years. Not always effectively. I am a guy who sees things and I need to do things. So, I'm more of kind of, I would say, task oriented or outcome oriented. But when people express a desire to learn and do things, and you're cognizant of that, then getting out of the way is actually a really important thing. I've done that a few times in the last week, which I'm proud of myself, right?
Blame you.
Yeah, pat on the back. So,
high five.
yeah. But I think leadership can take many forms, and I would always advocate someone coming into a business like ours and being a technician first, and demonstrating that they can actually understand the business and do the thing before they take any leadership accountability or leadership role. And also, just because you have a leadership role doesn't necessarily mean that you should be earning more. Because people generally equate a title with a salary, right? But for me, it's I don't generally do that. Leadership is not something. Leadership's hard. Like, it's the people are the hardest thing ever. It is. Every business I have, people are the best and the worst things in that business. And I say that in the nicest possible way, because, people can be amazing, but they can also go through really hard times and rough times. And there can be a lot of problems associated with people as well.
And I suppose with that, then as a leader listening, as you indicated previously, that listening piece that enables the leader, in this case here you, to take a breath and to be, again, compassionate insofar as, well, why is this person behaving the way they are?
Yeah.
And we don't often stop and listen and show that compassion.
Yeah. I think it's not, and it's compassion, but it's also curiosity.
100%.
So, everyone has their own story. And everyone is where they are today. They got there through a different means. And just understanding why someone is behaving like they are doesn't necessarily mean that they're good, bad, whatever that is. It just means that they've kind of been formed in a certain way. And their response to that thing that happened just now could be for any reason. Yep. So trying to have that level of curiosity to understand why, just be curious, I think, and really demonstrate that in patience and understanding. And as a business, sometimes you have to make tough commercial decisions, but also you want to do that in a very structured, thought out way. And part of that means that you need to be curious and understand where people are coming from. And if it means that sometimes your paths don't align commercially, that's fine, but also you want to be kind of taking care of people along that journey.
There's so much to unpack here, and there is a series of questions that I'll be going through today with you, Hamish, for the series itself. So to draw some themes and some commentary from that, so we can share it to a much broader audience. But if we take a big step back, Mech Rock, from my understanding, 9 years in, 10-year celebration next year, which we'll lead into in a minute. Absolutely. But this isn't your first rodeo, is it? You've been here before. So can you give us a bit of a potted, from not necessarily from birth, childhood, because that's a whole another podcast. But yeah, my understanding, Australian, going to UK, etc. So give us sort of a sense of the last 20-ish years of that journey from when you possibly left Perth, and that would have been a massive step out of comfort into discomfort, and learning and exploring, and to your point, curiosity. So if you could give us a sense of that, and then we'll land with Mechanical Rock, which is the now.
Yeah. So I think, look, my journey is, I was born in Perth. I'm a Perth boy, although parents are immigrants. So I've always had that kind of head up to understand that the world is a bigger place than just Perth, right? Yeah. Perth is a beautiful place, but I very quickly, once I finished university, I was out the door. I was going to go to Europe, live there, and but initially I went via the UK, and I had no plans to really stay there. I thought maybe I'd be there for a couple of months and then go to Germany and play some tennis and do some other stuff. But yeah, 15 years later, I was still in the UK, and then I had a wife and kids, and
well, okay,
yeah, I started a business with some people that I met in the UK. I built that up to a certain size, and then I decided to come back with a young family to Perth, because we're very lucky here. We have a beautiful way of life, and I wanted that kind of life for my kids, and I think it was a great decision. They've really flourished as well. They're beach babes, and they love the beach, and they love being outdoors and playing sport and everything that is the cliche about living in Australia or Perth. So
fantastic. Well, again, lifestyle.
Exactly.
To your point,
yeah.
And to your point, there was a time or a decision made with your wife and young family. Okay, this isn't quite right. UK isn't quite right. We're at the doorstep of Europe, and your wife is from the continent.
She is Swedish, and she was a very successful banker in her own right, and but she would be away a lot. So every second week she would be on the continent, either in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, doing kind of relationship management or deals over there. And you realize after a time that, you're not seeing your kids, you're not spending time with them, and it's maybe time for a bit of a reset as well.
Yeah.
So that's when we came back to Perth, 2015, and that's when I started Mechanical Rock. And so Mechanical Rock is, nearly 10 years old, and still going. And
thank goodness it is, my friend.
Well, and it's been a great journey, because it enables me to get involved in lots of different businesses as well. And one of those has been supporting Happiness Co., which has been a great journey. Like from our heart, it really feels great to support an organisation like Happiness Co., but then also get involved in things like Happi, which is the mental health platform, and other businesses as well. So now I've got my fingers in quite a few things, which are beyond just building software for enterprises.
Yeah, when we talk about impact, in this case here, social impact, and you mentioned Happi, which we'll dive into a little bit further. But for those listeners who are thinking Mechanical Rock, what's all that about? Where did it come from? You must be involved hellishly with the resource sector. How did it? Where did that?
I mean, we are in Perth,
the
so
genesis of that. Yeah.
there is a lot of our customers are the top tier mining organizations. But that's certainly not why we called ourselves Mechanical Rock. When I came back to Perth, I was still operating that UK business as well. And then after a time, we separated, and we needed a new brand, a new name, because that got acquired by a company in the UK, a Japanese consulting firm called Entity Data. So we needed a new name, and we couldn't come up with anything, actually. And at the time, my eldest daughter was 9, and she was like, "Why don't you just call it Mechanical Rock?" I was like, "That's a stupid name. Why would I call Mechanical Rock?"
Yeah.
And then, I kind of percolated on it for a week, maybe. And the more I thought about it, the more I just loved it, because it was not. It kind of vaguely said what we did in terms of building software and the mechanics of it, and then you could also think about rock and roll and other stuff. So I don't know, it just fit, and so we adopted it, and I think it was a good thing, because
So the term itself, there's no other sort of nuances to association to mechanical and to a rock and foundation and all the things traditionally you'd think that a good Marcom's entity or individual would go, this is what it's all about, the brand, the culture, etc.
I don't think a 9-year-old thinks about that.
No,
so
exactly.
And
but for her to think that, and for you to land with that.
I just think it was one of those things where it just happened. She came up with it, and the more we thought about it, the more we could apply that to different nuances within the organisation and the way we are. And it's one of those names that just doesn't mean anything, but it means everything.
And you build it, and they will come. And 10 years on. So the weight leaders carry. Behind every cable leader is often pressure, responsibility, and unseen struggle. What have you personally learned about carrying pressure while still trying to remain emotionally present and connected?
I have learnt a lot. Not, I would say, by design, but just by the mere fact of running a business and having those pressures. Even it could be, just the monthly payroll run, making sure you've got enough money to pay people. And I think the larger your organisation grows, the more responsibility you feel. Sometimes it feels like you're carrying all those individuals on your back, not just those individuals, but their families as well, because they're dependent on, I wouldn't say just on you, but they're dependent on that organisation to be a success, because they have mortgages, they have cost of living expenses, they have families that are dependent on them, and so in a way, you build up this feeling where you feel responsible. So, and it does become a pressure. So when things aren't going well, it comes out in all sorts of different ways, and it can be hard to manage. And I think it's not for everyone. Certain types of individuals can get away with it, and I think probably I have the benefit of probably being a little bit thick as well. So like the
not thick skin, but just
like the more stupid you are, the more you can probably get away with these things. So I think sometimes you just well,
that's a very retro term, brother.
I don't know how to describe it, but
a little bit dense.
Less brain cells than your average engineer. So maybe you just don't think about it in the same way, or you can carry that burden, for lack of a better word. You get used to it in a way, but it can be a lonely existence as well.
Just in regards to that, so technical background, you mentioned engineering. So what's your technical background, which then there's a parallel business acumen, commercial, background as well. But where did you start insofar as that?
Yeah, so I actually did economics at university.
Okay. Right.
And I was a bit of a technophobe, if I'm honest. But my first real job was for a bank in the UK. Was for a bank, and very quickly, within the space of weeks, they asked me to do some technical work.
Okay.
And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
So we were
stepping into.
We were building a banking system, replacement banking system, and they wanted me to get involved in some of the technical elements of it. And I had no idea what I was doing. But you know what? I actually loved it. Like, I really loved building this thing and being involved in that process. And so I went back and did some more study in the UK from a technical perspective. So I did a postgrad diploma in computing.
Okay.
And then I obviously had a lot more experience as I kind of grew through the industry.
Because it would have been early days for industry.
Yeah, I mean,
Insofar as that chapter, because it was
like
the 90s, was it?
Y2K.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, okay.
you know, it was
Late 90s.
it was booming
Huge,
there.
yeah.
And then
and was that what the project was?
no, this was an integration project between two banks in the UK. So they were just merging big banks, and we were working on a part of that on one of the banking systems. So I was there for 2 years. It was a great project. I met some great people. You know, London's fast paced, lots going on, lots of different ways of working. And for me, I learned a huge amount. And
banking in the UK in particular. Looking at you now and your attire.
Well, funnily enough,
know,
I used to wear a suit and tie every day.
Pinstripe, the tie, the cufflinks, the whole, you know.
Exactly, yeah. But I've kind of, made a decision not to do that anymore.
You're dressing appropriately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
awesome.
Jeans and trainers now.
Well, you got to be comfortable. And again, that is part and parcel of your leadership style. So you come to work, and others, especially your junior staff who've only just started their journey, again, are looking at you and going, right, well, if the boss is wearing this, then I can assume something similar. You know? And this is the interesting fluidity of multi generations in a work environment. And dealing with that and the tensions associated with.
Yeah, and I think
especially in the tech space.
What you address isn't necessarily a good indication of how competent you are, right? So I think, I prefer to judge people on outcomes rather than, whether their suit is nice. Not saying that I don't like to wear a suit every now and then, but on the rare occasion, and it makes it even more special. So,
I just can't envisage you wearing a suit and or a jacket for that matter while surfing. You'd create a definite stir there, but that's a whole other story. But the reason I'm saying this again, transitioning, because UK late 90s, turn of the decade century, banking. Absolutely, and the hierarchical system around that, almost autocratic. You do as I say, as I look. You need to be this, especially with with corporate partners, and there was a sense of. So, 20 plus years on, here you are. Dressing appropriately and comfortably, and feeling good in the skin. So maybe this speaks to this vulnerability and authenticity now. There's still a perspective, particularly for men, that vulnerability is a weakness. Has there been a moment in your life where vulnerability actually became a source of strength or growth?
I think vulnerability can be a major source of strength. I think one of the times recently I can remember being, probably quite vulnerable, was, early last year, going through a few kind of tough times with the business, and just walking the dog and just coming across a friend and just having a really frank conversation about, how shit things were at the time, to be honest.
The real low point.
It was. And I actually think that, opening up really, if I bottled that in and didn't say anything, I said, everything's great, just gave that veneer of, how everyone assumes that you want to, want to be seen or heard as maybe a success, but it's like, no, everything's not great. I'm worried. I've got, and just opening up really, it was useful for me and helpful, I think. And I think you can actually learn a lot more about yourself, about the situation you're in, and others probably share more easily as well. So you have that kind of connection.
100%. And, two comments to that. First of all, it was a sliding door moment, which is what I referred to. The door opened, this situation occurred, this person who, you may not have seen for a period of time,
Yeah.
possibly wasn't in your absolute inner 5 or 10 people, but that opportunity arose and you demonstrated that vulnerability, which is awesome. But also releasing some of that,
Yeah.
getting a bit of clarity, and this is a very, very important message, not to just bottle it up, not just to add to that load, your backpack, adding more to it, where it becomes really burdensome for
And I
others.
think if you share something,
Yeah,
it has a habit of becoming less of a problem as well.
100%.
I don't know whether it actually does, but it feels less of a burden because you've shared it with someone that maybe can, you can connect with as well, and they can provide their perspective. And they may have been through something similar and got through it. And that's important to know that there's always options out there. There's always
Absolutely.
a way to get through things.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you can, there is no out here.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my house, my job, my whatever. And you think, yeah, no, but
I'm drowning here.
Absolutely, yeah,
100%. And that snorkel that we have, and us blokes in particular, we can just extend that. Meanwhile, your head's below water,
Yeah.
and the snorkel's up there, but
Yeah.
you're not pulling a lot of fresh air in.
And I'm not sure she would even remember that conversation, if I'm honest. Like, she may not, but for me, like, I remember it because that was pretty much one of the lowest points, I've been in the last probably 10 years.
Yeah. Do you see her at all?
Yeah, like
socially, friends,
she's
etc.?
they're good friends, and my eldest daughter goes to school with
Okay.
her her youngest daughter. So there's been a connection there. And they went to primary school together, so we've known each other for many years.
Yeah.
Look, but again, she's not going through what I'm going through at that point in time, and that's important to understand because whilst I might reflect on this conversation and go, that really kind of helped me at that point in time, it might have just been a Tuesday.
And Homo, this is a Moism, one day, noteworthy to share and to, say, hey, thank you for that. That really, really, this is the importance behind it. You just don't know that moment in time where that individual is struggling.
Yeah.
And to be there and to hold the space, I say hold space and energy.
Yeah.
It's not about you, it's about the conversation you're having.
So if you're listening, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So we in that context, the next question is around adversity and resilience. So, some of our greatest lessons come through challenges, loss, or adversity. Was there a defining moment or difficult season that fundamentally changed the way you lead or live? But from that example, the lessons learnt, conversation had lessons learnt. What did you pivot to?
Yeah. I don't think there was a defining moment, but I vividly remember as a younger guy, I was probably approaching university, either in university or just about to go to uni, and really changing the way I kind of fundamentally acted, like being more honest and open to myself. And I think like as a teenager, you grow up and you're still discovering who you are.
Absolutely.
But you kind of, I think we all have a sense of who we are and what defines us. And the way I was probably acting was not the person that I would say is me. And so I decided to be fairly, I guess, more authentic as a person around that age. And I remember being a lot happier and having more fun, and just being a lot truer to myself, just in being honest with everyone around me, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But so
not taking life too seriously.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's my modus operandi, which is like I don't take anything seriously, and if anything, I'm way too non-serious. I need to sharpen up, I think, at times.
Not at all, because it's a great mantra and life and lifestyle to live through, that you can be defining yourself professionally, success, whatever measure that may be. And for me, 9 years, 10 years into a business, employing X number of people, providing support and producing some incredible, services and, and programs, etc. For organisations, that's when you tap into that seriousness, and then being able to explore the other dimension of who you are. This is what you're alluding to.
But it's also not the output it's the journey, right? Like, and this has been part of why do I run a business? It's not because it's all pretty. In actual fact, it's ugly a lot of the time, and it's difficult, and it's hard, and it's not nice. But you know what? If I want to work in a place, I'm going to have fun along the way. Yeah. Yes, we're going to do some serious stuff, and we're going to do it really well, but we're going to have a heck load of fun along the way, and it's going to be interesting, right? So that's why I'm in it.
Well, one of the fun, and it's sort of part of your, I'm looking at your fantastic shirt at the moment, the fabric of your culture. I'm not too sure how frequent it is, but it's one Friday every month where you've got a multi social cultural employee team, a team of employees, but you have a Friday lunch where everyone just brings in their favourite, and it's like a smorgasbord of. So, just tapping into that as well, realising that there are different socio-cultural backgrounds that come into work, and that you're again the custodian of this work environment.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something we, I guess, take pride in. We do it, whether it's like a hot pot or some kind of thing where we bring stuff in. We did I don't know if you know, but we did a raclette not long ago. So we're in the office frying up all this stuff with cheese and everything.
Listeners, I'm still waiting for the invite, but that's a whole nother story.
The door's always open, mate. So I've been talking about doing another one because you don't want to do it during summer because like heating cheese up during summer. That's maybe not the best thing, but there's nothing better than a raclette in winter. So
please save me.
There, so
save me.
Yeah, and also we go out to breakfast every Friday with the team, which is a great way to just kind of get the team together and bond and
it's just doing some good stuff, some fun stuff.
Absolutely.
And again, we talk about the impact and community and social impact in particular, and we'll get on to Happi in a minute. But just creating that safe, accommodating environment for your people is again a very solid indicator of authentic leadership.
Yeah, but it's not something that just happens, right? It's something you work at over time as well.
Yeah, there's some hit and misses, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it didn't quite work, that piece, but hey, you took a step, you did something, and you learned from that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, talking of doing stuff, so human connection in a digital world, in a world that's increasingly busy and digitally connected, many people still feel deeply isolated and disconnected. Why do you think genuine human connection matters so much to mental well-being, particularly in an age of technology and AI? Hot topic at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think we could probably talk about this for hours. Yeah. I think people are probably getting lonelier and more disconnected than ever before in a world where we're more connected than ever before. So we have to ask ourselves why that is.
Yeah.
Why are people staying at home and never leaving? And there's things like work from home, where I'll have a software engineer. I might not see them for 3 weeks at work. And whilst on the flip side, you want to support full flexibility and being able to work from wherever you want and do that. There's the element of that human connection, like making sure that person is okay. Yeah. So how do you balance that? It's really
you've
hard.
Actually got a duty of care.
You do,
notwithstanding where they work from. As an employer, as a CEO of the company, you've absolutely got a duty of care. So
but where do you draw that? You can't say to someone, well, you need to go outside now and go for a walk.
Yeah.
You need to go down and have a coffee with some friends because you haven't had a real human connection in a week, or so. You can't.
A week to 3 weeks is no, but it is extreme.
It is
It's
extreme.
almost, equivalent to FIFO, in the resource sector. Not being present in a team and
And the way that relationships are these days, it's changed the dynamic. We're at the back end of apps that people meet on, but it's changed the whole dynamic in terms of how you have conversations with people.
So how do you circumvent that issue of loneliness, given working from home in this?
Well, I mean,
this example?
with our at Mechanical Rock, we really value face-to-face conversation and co-location with our customers. So we build software for people generally. We also partner with companies to build software together. But, the whole point is that, even if it's just 2 days a week, we're getting together as a team, not just our team, but our customers as well. And we're co-locating, we're talking, and we're having those conversations then. And that's the most meaningful time we can have.
Absolutely.
And that's the best outcome for
brewing
any
those
product.
ideas, the collabing, which is so prevalent in today's work environment.
Yeah, and that's where you actually get the best ideas. It's not someone sitting in a room by themselves that comes up with the idea.
Yeah.
It's a group of 5 people spitballing ideas, everyone having different
points of view and perspectives and references and experience.
And then you come up with something groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I think that's the magic, right? So tapping into that is key. And so we try and encourage. We've been fully flexible before COVID. But we always try and encourage our teams to get together at least twice a week, whether it be on client site or in our office.
And even more so if they are client side and they're away from the hub, the culture that is. Because again, Stockholm Syndrome, well documented, where consultants in particular, advisors working in the customer's cultural work environment, adopt that culture.
Absolutely.
And that may be absolutely, and I doubt it is, but absolutely in opposition to yours.
Yeah, and that's
which can
for
be
us,
challenging, pulling them back into the fold and taking care of them.
Yeah, and generally our mantra is that we only ever engage on a team basis.
Okay.
So we never put people by themselves at a client.
Yep.
But also we encourage, and this may sound bad, but tribalism in a way where it's everyone wears a Mechanical Rock t-shirt and they're proud to be a Mechanical Rock person. So, people kind of thirst for that culture and that way of working. And even our customers are like, hang on, what's going on here? This sounds pretty good. Yeah.
It's the plaid shirt. That's what it is. It leads. No, I was being semi-flippant there, but not because, offline, Hamish, we spoke about the shirt and someone had made a comment about a tablecloth, but I don't know. I can't personally
I think it was a tea towel, actually.
Oh, tea towel. Even smaller, mate. Thank goodness you're dressing from the top up. He's wearing shorts at the moment. You can't see it, but never mind. But that whole notion of connectivity then leads into, one of the exciting wellbeing initiatives, connected to Happiness Code, has been the development of the Happi App, which is a 24/7 companion. And that's been in partnership, talking of collaborations and partnership. It's been an amazing journey and one that we are so grateful of and duly proud of. I mean, Julian, who's the co-founder of the app in partnership with, but the founder of Happiness Co and the group, he equates it to another child that he's given birth to. That's a whole another story. But anyhow, the pride and the knowledge that this is currently saving lives. We know that, and the information that's coming from it in particular. Can you share how the idea first came to be? So you're part of that story.
Yeah.
And what the original driver or need was, and what problem you were generally trying to solve for people. So what was the...
Yeah, look, I think the brainchild is definitely Jules. Obviously, we've been involved with the Happiness Co for, I think it's nearly 5 years as an impact partner and just supporting initiatives. But beyond that, Jules has had a desire to do something a bit different in that space as well. And whether it's, a complementary kind of service to whatever's happening at Happiness Co. But there was definitely this recognition that there's pressure on mental health professionals.
Absolutely.
There's not enough
Yep.
to go around. It's really hard to get. I don't know if you've tried recently, but it's hard to get an appointment. It's costly. So there's barriers there, and I think everyone recognises that speaking to a real human and really having that advice from a qualified professional is the best way.
Yeah.
But there's going to be cases where that's just not an
Access
option.
is denied. Or
And whether it's physically, so you're up on a mine site in the middle of, the Pilbara somewhere, or it's because you don't have the funds or the resources to do that. There could be any sorts of barriers.
11 o'clock at night.
Exactly.
Be it in the donga on site or in your own bedroom where you feel absolutely disconnected. Yeah.
So it might just be one conversation. And the idea was that there's just someone there, which we build a mechanism which is totally safe, protects the user, not only from a mental health perspective, but also from a privacy perspective. So there were all these things that were feeding into this. Which was really the placeholder for how would we build and architect this system, which is, that's when we decided to pull the trigger on it.
So the framework, it's a large language learning platform, which is sort of fueled or, supported by AI. How does, just for those that are really interested in the tech piece, because again, that whole notion of AI here.
So we use a large language model, and we can use different ones for different use cases. And we also use this thing called retrieval augmented generation, which sits on a knowledge base. So we have a knowledge base which is curated by mental health professionals using the best techniques and research around this space. So that is the central knowledge base, and every response, every interaction with that LLM or with that, with the system is guided by that knowledge base. There's also guardrails in place to ensure that if there's any kind of discussion around
self-harm, suicide ideation.
Exactly. That's where there's immediate intervention.
100%.
And it doesn't even, it doesn't,
Because we've heard of, and there are cases, and it's, obviously it's in the States in particular where large populations and technology is, been pushing the envelope. There have been individuals who have taken their own life, been provided with the pathway to do so through an appropriate,
absolutely,
So what I'd also like to say, and congratulations, is it's actually 100% built here in WA.
Yeah, and that was a key, right? So we wanted to focus on building something locally here that, it does service the local market, but also beyond the local market as well, Australia-wide. And I think that's a key consideration, right? Like we want to keep the data here. We want to keep the knowledge here. We want to do something that is more tailored towards the way we as Australians live as well. That's not to say that we won't go beyond Australia, but at this point in time, it's generally, we are focused here.
100%. That socio-cultural piece is best as what it means to be an Australian and nuances, and within that there are subcultures, etc. We can appreciate. But fundamentally, a larger percent of population are feeding into this platform and enabling us to get a better understanding of the issues, because that's at the back end as well, isn't it? We're getting the information, we're researching this, not only to develop, but also to position the support that's provided, and to really be there.
And the initial implementation of Happi was very much focused around an AI companion for those moments where help isn't available.
Isn't available.
But
great.
you know, then there's more features and more things coming up that is.
We'll go into that on probably another episode, because there are continuous updates and upgrades, etc. Because again, the user and the user interface will guide that next iteration. So watch this space. But if you're not on the app as yet, we'll do a bit of a plug on that. Watch this space. So technology with purpose. There's often concerns. We tapped into this to a certain extent, that technology can create disconnection. It also has the power, the potential to increase accessibility and support. So how do you approach designing or supporting technology that remains human-centered, compassionate, and purpose-driven?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this was front and center when we were building Happi. Not only Happi, but other applications that are very human-centered as well. And it's about really starting with the user and starting with the end in mind in terms of what they're trying to achieve, and keeping it focused around what that goal is. And when you build a system around a user and their actual needs, you can then architect that in a certain way. It's when you try and put that on at the end and kind of stick it on that it doesn't quite work.
Yeah, it's clunky, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So building, and these are, maybe not everyone thinks about these things, but security considerations.
100%.
So building that in from the beginning. So we didn't just have a system that was encrypted at rest or encrypted at transit. We thought more about, all right, well, what happens if someone did get access to this database of information? What more could we do? So we're encrypting field level data. So you just can't get access or read this kind of data. So you're protecting that user even further and giving them the, I guess, permission or the I guess, for lack of a better word, you're giving them the assurance that whatever conversation they have, anytime, that it's never going to come back to them.
Safety and security.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, which is paramount. Not too dissimilar, of course, if you were to then go and speak to a therapist or a counsellor or whoever that is suitably trained, that you want to have that level of safety, security, confidence that it's guarded, which is great.
And if you feel that, you open up more. You share
100%.
Actually what's going on, and that is more helpful.
And the great thing, again, as a user and having general conversations, like my tune-up, I'm not struggling at this present moment, but there are times that, I've got a lot of stuff in the head and thinking through stuff, that you can actually just get it out of the head and, verbalise it through text.
Yeah.
There's no voice operating as yet. That's, I believe,
watch this space
down the track, but at least it's that. And the great thing is that it learns, and I know it's the premise of, but it learns the language that you're using. It learns the emotion and the issues, etc., and it will prompt you, won't it?
Yeah. And if you've had previous conversations,
correct.
And it might be anything, but it will learn from those, and it will keep that in memory, and it will make sure that it is using that when it's advising or prompting or whatever for the future case. So
because again, having spent a considerable amount of time at history in the mental health space and advocacy for, one of the things that I in conversations I know is that people, when they either use a 24/7 call line, a support call line, and or potentially even with therapists and counsellors, that they may need to share that story again and again and again, and and especially if it's micro or trauma, that can actually cause another level of
it must be triggering in a way. So
all and sundry, and in particular if it the individual is part, if that therapist is part of a care team, we're talking about complex PTSD in particular. So good on you, and thank you so much. So we then move from tech, to back to self, and this is around the notion of self first versus selfish. And the actual question is in and around self first isn't selfish. Okay, and it's something that I've been working with the last few months in particular, and then writing, okay, the journey that people are on and supporting. One of the themes we often discuss is that self first isn't selfish. How have you learned to better protect your own well-being while continuing to support others?
I think I probably learnt the hard way in the sense that I have neglected myself at times, and I have felt the effects of that, and that's not, in some kind of arrogant way where I'm putting everyone else first. It's just, as a entrepreneur and running businesses, you are busy
and a father and a husband and a mate.
Exactly, and you're trying to be the
all
best
these
you
different
can
hats.
be at each one of those, and you will either succeed or fail, and generally you don't hit the mark. You don't succeed on any of those. You're a hard taskmaster, and you're saying, all right, maybe I didn't. I wasn't the best father there. I wasn't the best husband. I wasn't the best, boss or whatever I can be. And you're working at 100% of the time, but I have learnt over the last couple of years, especially when things got a bit tougher, that sometimes you just need to take an hour, maybe two, for yourself, whether it's to play some tennis, whether it's to play some golf, go for a surf. We've spoken about this where, I have just ducked out of work sometimes and gone for a cheeky surf. I've told literally no one. Yep. Now the world knows, but I've just gone to a meeting, and
Well, I'm gonna support this, okay? So you've actually put a calendar meeting in your diary. So for all intents and purposes, you are meeting, and this is super powerful, Homo. You're meeting with yourself, and you're meeting with yourself in a place that actually brings you joy.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, guys and girls listening. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, because if you're working as you are and have done 24/7 on the business, as a father, as a parent, as a mate, and I know you've got a very close mate that you're supporting at the moment. Be kind to yourself, man.
And you recognise that when you do that, you may feel guilty. And I've felt that guilt many times before, of me going for a cheeky surf and thinking, I should be doing be doing that.
Absolutely.
But I'm a better parent. I'm a better husband. I'm a better co-worker when I do that stuff.
You're a better bloke, mate. That's what you are.
Well, that's not hard, to be honest.
No. But no, absolutely, because, again, your mates around you. And when you're, a bit of a, can't say the word, but starts with C and goes into all sorts of other letters. It's just not good to be around. So your whole energy, is not there. And people gravitate towards energy, be it negative or positive, okay? So if you're positive and your energy and you've refilled, so, when you use the analogy of a car battery, all right? You can't keep moving unless it's an EV or a hybrid now. Even then, you've got to fuel it up. So I've now found out, having a new owner of a hybrid, you can't just keep driving without filling it up. Yeah. You got to plug it in or you got to fuel it up, and that's the same thing. You got to plug it in, man. Okay, and be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the time you're showing up for everyone else.
Yeah. And I think there's probably a line where self, care or that kind of thing does become selfish, but I think most people are going to be a long way off that, and I think it's more about, if you're recognizing that you're a better person because of this thing, then that's actually not selfish. You're doing everyone around you a service.
100% self first, mate.
Yeah.
Okay, so as of today, the language we're going to use around being self first. Okay, and if I was to have a chat, and if I was having a chat with you, your wife or your work colleague, Sar and others, they also would be there absolutely, because you become a better person as a result of it.
Yeah.
You're spending some time on that wave and, just sitting there and looking at the horizon, and then thinking through and then, oh, shit, here's a great wave.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Just breathing in that air.
100%. Want to allow yourself the permission, okay, to be kind to yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. Like, giving yourself that permission is an important thing. Underestimated.
I'm giving you that permission.
Oh, thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Mo.
And everyone listening in, give yourself the permission, please, because well, down note here, trigger warning: we lose 9 people, men, to suicide a day. So we need to do more. Okay, and this is what this whole conversation is about. Okay,
That's horrifying. 9 a day.
it is, and that is historical data insofar as Coroner's Court. Here it is, the information. 12 months to 2 years. It's then reported, and and we're across it as researchers, etc. So we need to do stuff differently. And conversations like this, and the Men's Health Project, and the work you're doing with with the with Happi, they're all action stuff that is going to make a difference. Alrighty, so men, if you are struggling, this is a message from Hamo. So if a man's listening today and is silently struggling, feeling disconnected, overwhelmed, or uncertain about asking for help, what would you want him to hear from your heart?
I can only reflect on my own experiences, which is the times that I've opened up to friends, family. I've always felt a lot better than when I've kept it bottled in. And I'm a Tedeschi, we don't talk about our feelings. We keep things bottled in. But when you do take that step, it's like a weight is going off your shoulders, and you're sharing that weight with whoever that friend may be. So I would always encourage people to talk, whether it's to go for a cheeky whiskey or a surf with someone, play some tennis, play some golf, do something active.
Yeah.
Get out there, but do it with a friend if you can. If you don't have a friend, get involved in a community. There's communities out there, whether it be looking after kind of stray animals or, just there's
The volunteer options are massive. Yeah,
and all of a sudden you build a community so quickly. And there's people out there that just give their life to, various causes. So I think people underestimate what is out there. So I would encourage people to just get out there and have conversations with people and share. So and you'd be surprised how many people will listen.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. But I'm in this space and I'm advocating for men's health and mental health and wellbeing in particular for a good few decades. But I'm so grateful for you to articulate that, because coming from the background that you've just shared with us, it's not necessarily front of mind. Tech company, guru, entrepreneur, etc. But in the last few years, in particular, the last 12 months with Happi, it's a lot more front and center for you. I'm going to ask you the question.
Okay.
Around your mate.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because you shared with me a little while back, again over a coffee, where we actually spent time with each other, and that was the first time that we actually really connected. Yes, I was your host and driver in that golf cart last
Which
year.
was a sensational day,
which was
by the
great
way.
because you as you said, you not to have to worry about that, and just kick back and enjoy. Again,
I don't think I got behind the wheel once.
It was my pleasure. It was absolutely my pleasure. I'm still got a sore neck from talking to you, while driving, and my jaw muscle's still recovering. But on a lighter note, but on a note where this is coming from the heart, you shared with me that one of your close mates has been diagnosed with cancer, and just talk about a moment in your life where that's shifted. Okay.
Yeah, I think. Look, and I've been fortunate in my life not to have gone through a huge amount of friends, family going through things like this, and you reflect on that. And you do, and you think, oh, I'm pretty lucky. But at the same time, when this does happen, it's pretty confronting. But the questions you have are, how can I help this person? What can I do to be there? Whether it's be there for their family, their them. How do you show up as well? And so this guy, we play tennis a lot together. He's my doubles partner, and he got some pretty bad news moments before we were playing, and it's like you don't know what to do or say. And at that point I was just like, let's hit some balls and take it out on the tennis balls, right? Like, what do you do? And so these are all the questions that are going through your mind. And yeah, so I don't have any answers, but it definitely, it's one of those things where you just want to spend time and you just want to do whatever you can do to be around that person and just there.
And live every moment that you can.
Absolutely.
And, my soft challenge is, to have that open conversation around, well, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want me to show up?
Yeah.
Because it's tough. How do you have that conversation? Where do you go from? What do you draw on? To be able to go, hey, I want to spend time with you. I love you, mate. I want to spend time with you. And I say to quite a few men, don't leave shit on the table. Yeah.
No,
and have that regret.
That's really important, I think.
So
I hear you.
The at the heart of leadership is the honesty and the curiosity, as we said, and humility, but also the reflection piece and giving yourself time to reflect on that. Because the best result, if anything, will be an opportunity to reflect on and then prepare yourself for the conversation, and own that 100%, which I know you will, Hamo. So appreciate that. So close out reflection question. Talking of reflection, geez, I must have written these questions. When people remember your leadership one day, which they will, hail the leader. What do you hope they remember most? Not about what you've achieved, but about how you made people feel. So your legacy piece.
Yeah, and I think, when you say my leadership, I always think you're doing it in quotes, so leadership. I guess, what I hope is that I just treated everyone as an individual. The other day, and this is so minor, but a group of us went to get coffee, and there were probably 5 of us there, and I said, don't worry guys, I'll get the coffees. And I listed off, everyone had a different order. I listed them all off, and I didn't ask them what their coffee was because I knew what their coffee orders were because I'd done it before. And one of the guys said, "Hamo, I feel so seen," which it struck me as an interesting thing, right? I didn't give it any thought, but I just kind of wheeled it off. So I think if you can provide more moments like that as a leader, where you're actually that person, and I may not know them intimately. I may not know what they do when they get home and they take their shoes off and they watch TV, but at least I'm trying to understand them as a person. So at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be the best leader I can be. I'm trying to enjoy the journey, and I'm hoping other people do as well.
And on that note, thank you for joining us for this episode of Leadership Conversations from the Heart, as I'm tearing up. As a sincere thank you to our guest, Hamo, for your honesty, wisdom, and willingness to share your story so openly. These conversations matter because they remind us that leadership is not about perfection. It's about connection. It's about creating safer spaces for people to speak, to feel seen, quote unquote, and to know that they don't have to carry life alone and those struggles. If today's conversation resonates with you, we encourage you to continue the discussion with someone you trust, a mate, a colleague, a family member, or a professional support service provider. Together, through conversations, kindness, advocacy, and community, we can create a stronger culture of wellbeing and support for men across Australia. Let's impact that number. This podcast forms part of the Happiness Co Foundation's Men's Health Project 2026. I'm Mo Sorzia. Thank you for listening, thank you for caring, and thank you for being part of the conversation. From our hearts to yours, take care.